Hi everyone. This video is a book review about a book that I recently found in a little free library, and the title of this book is Ambitious Girl, and it was written by Mina Harris and illustrated by Marissa Valdez. The reason that I selected this book for review is because January is Self-Love Month, so I was searching throughout my collection for books related to self-love, self-esteem, and basically building up inner courage. And I'm happy to see that it was a children's book because a lot of people's self-esteem issues usually stem from childhood. And sometimes it doesn't come to the surface until later in their adult life. So even though this book was written for children, I believe that it is relevant for anybody of any age. But before I get into all of that and my thoughts on the book, let me share with you a little bit about the author, Mina Harris. So in the back of the book, this is a picture of Mina. It's a very short bio, but I'm going to read to you her bio online from Wikipedia. She doesn't have her own personal page about that I could find about herself, but she does have a website. And on Wikipedia, it says, Mina, I don't know if it's Meenakshi Ashley Harris, born October 20th, 1984, is an American lawyer, children's book author, producer, and founder of the Phenomenal Woman Action Campaign, which creates statement fashion to support charity. In June 2020, Harris released her first book from HarperCollins entitled Kamala and Maya's Big Idea, which is based on the story of her mother, Maya Harris, and her aunt, Kamala Harris, the 49th Vice President of the United States. Now, I didn't know she was related to Vice President Harris. I would have never put two and two together, honestly, for real. I didn't know that. It says, early education. Harris was born on October 20th, 1984. Her mother, Maya Harris, is a lawyer and policy expert. Her aunt, Kamala Harris, is the Vice President of the United States. Her grandmother, Shyamala Gopalan, was an Indian American cancer researcher and civil rights activist, and her grandfather, Donald Harris, is a Jamaican American professor of economics at Stanford and a civil rights activist. She received her bachelor's degree from Stanford University in 2006 and her Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School in 2012. She graduated from Bishop O'Dowd High School in Oakland. Wow, that's a lot. You went to Harvard and you went to Stanford. Okay, girl, I see you. She founded Phenomenal in 2017, naming her fashion company for a 1978 Maya Angelou poem. It then branched out to include the Phenomenal Woman Action Campaign, founded in 2017 as an organization that brings awareness to social causes. The campaign covers a range of policy issues, including educational excellence and healthcare equity, criminal justice reform, gender parity in STEM, reproductive health, and political representation. So when you go to her phenomenal site, it's really interesting. She has a book club. I decided to, sign up for the book club. I just want to see what it's about. And it says, Phenomenal is a values-driven 360-degree media company that centers women in historically excluded communities by lifting up the stories, experiences, and talents of underrepresented groups. Phenomenal is helping to shift culture and build community power. So on this site, there's brands. It's like shop all brands. There's children's books. It has her 2 children's books on there. She also has, it looks like some type of fashion, like clothing, t-shirts and babies and different things. There's a shirt that says, I'm gonna win. There's a Barack Obama with a basketball. Yeah, it's really neat. So now let us talk about the illustrator, the beautiful Marissa Valdez. So let me look her up on site, because she actually does have a website. Marissa Valdez. Hold up. I'm going on the internet. MarissaValdez.com. And the more I learn about all of these illustrators and all of these authors and their backgrounds, I'm just very inspired to go further in my career field as an author and an illustrator. So Marissa Valdez, she has a couple of books on here. She has a very beautiful style. Some of the other books include Hattie Harmony, A is for Ambitious, Hattie Harmony, Worry Detective, and then, of course, Ambitious Girl. It says portfolio. I don't see a bio on here. Her portfolio has a bunch of different paintings on it. It looks kind of like watercolor. Very, very pretty. It says learn. It looks like she also has some type of classes. It says Domestica. Online portfolio for children's book illustrator. Learn the fundamentals of children's book illustration to create a playful portfolio ready to share with editors and art directors, and it's $21.99. So if you're a person that is going into illustration and wants to hear from a top-notch illustrator, I suggest you would do it. And it's reasonably priced. Like, some people be charging, I'm not saying it's too much, but some people be charging like $300. She went from $59.99 to $21.99. I mean, I still think that's a nice price. But anyway, back to the book. So, oops. This book was published in 2021. So it is maybe almost 2 years old. At the front of the book, it gives you a little snippet about this book. The illustrations for this book were done digitally with some acrylic on Bristol texture collages. This book was edited by Farron Jacobs and designed by Patrick Collins with art direction from Saho Buji. The production was supervised by Ruiko Tokunaga, and the production editor was Jen Graham. The text was set in Alice Standard, and the display type was hand-lettered. And the dedications are, from Mina Harris, it says, for my grandma who taught me that ambition meant I could do and be anything. To Amara and Leela, go, go, go. And then Marissa says, to Andrew, who always encouraged me to stay ambitious. Oh, here's Marissa's bio. She grew up on the South Texas border. She graduated with a BFA in Massachusetts College of Art and Design and has worked as a preschool teacher, graphic designer, and freelance illustrator. She lives in Houston, Texas with her 2 ambitiously large cats. So, the book starts off right here. This girl is walking with her, it looks like her grandma, her aunt, and her mom, or maybe her two moms. I really don't know. But she's walking with her family. This little girl, who is the main character of the book. And she stops and she sees this woman on the screen giving a speech. And she's like, whoa, who is that? Who is that? It's you! In the future. And the mom, of course, peeps that. Or if that's her mom or her aunt or somebody. One of her relatives peeps that. She's like, oh. She's like, whoa. I think this first image with no words is very, very powerful. A lot of videos now are coming up of girls of color, primarily like black girls, especially like little ones, seeing themselves, let's say, in a cartoon, or like Doc McStuffins, or the Little Mermaid, because Haley, is that Chloe and Halle, or Chloe and Halle Bailey is playing the Little Mermaid, and just watching these videos, it's like the girls are dumbfounded. They're just like, they're just so mesmerized that they've seen themselves. They see somebody with their hair. They see somebody that looks like them. They see somebody with their skin color, and they're just amazed. It does something in them to see representation. Me as a little girl, I'm sure my mind would have been very polluted by racism if my mother hadn't gotten me Fred Crump Jr. books, which I've shown you before, and I want to go up and get it, not to go on a tangent or anything, but these books were very important to me as a child. Where is it? Messy room, messy room. It's okay though. Just seeing a black princess. Seeing a black Rapunzel. My books didn't have black people in them. If they did have black people in them, they were either cannibals or enslaved, because I went to a religious school that had a racist curriculum. The next scene is too confident, too persistent, too ambitious, too loud, too proud. So this is the live TV, the commentary. And she's just closing her eyes. She really doesn't care. She kind of reminds me of Ida B. Wells Barnett, even though this isn't really how Ida B. Wells wore her hair that I've seen in a lot of images. She usually wore it like coiffed or put up. This illustration reminds me of Ida B. Wells a little bit. And so the speaker says, "Don't let anyone tell you who you are. You tell them who you are." Yes, say it again. You tell them, I won't put in, you tell them who you are. And look, the little girl's like, whoa, that is deep. That is deep. And you know what? That is deep. And I feel like this message is not just for children, because you have adults who are either in situations or relationships or friendships where people are telling them lies about themselves. People are telling them that they're not worth anything, that they're dumb, that they can't do anything, that they're poor, and all of these different things. They're letting other people prophesy evil things over their lives. instead of speaking up for themselves. But when you know yourself and when you love yourself, you don't have to believe the lies that people try to pin up on you. They're not going to stick. They're actually going to look ridiculous. When you have enough self-esteem, you will obviously see the projection. You'll see that the person shooting these horrible thoughts at you and horrible words at you are actually a very wounded person. They think this way about themselves. So sometimes when I've had that happen a lot to me, I'm just like, I can't believe this person thinks about themselves that way. And I know I shouldn't laugh, but that's how I feel. She says, when I grow up, I hope to be all the things I can see in a world that's changing fast and slow. And it has a picture of all of these different women. You can barely see it because it's so lightly drawn, but a world I'm only beginning to know. I want to go, go, go out the gate, but sometimes all I hear is wait. When I saw this picture, it just reminded me of my journey into just growing as a woman. Sometimes when I think about my life, even though it's been not a very long life, but I think about the things I've dealt with as being a woman and the things I have dealt with as being Black and a woman. Like sometimes it's like a Black woman or just Black and then a woman. And I literally don't know what's worse. I feel like the things I've dealt with as a woman are worse than what I've dealt with as just a Black person. Honestly. Like, because when it's racism, I personally am just like, okay, you're just a racist. Like, I can brush it off. Like, and when it's racism, I know where I'm like, okay, I shouldn't go to this hospital. It's very apparent to me. I'll be like, statistically speaking, this could happen to me if I go to this location, or if I go in this situation, or if I do this. Okay. But when it's a woman, it's like it comes from everywhere. 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 Every corner, every nook, every cranny. A negative response. Or some ulterior motive wrapped up in something that it is not. So a lot of the time where she's stopping, she's like, I want to go, go, go out the gate. But sometimes all I hear is wait. A lot of women, especially like girls that are growing, sometimes they will be in an environment where they're like, you can do anything, you can soar, you can do that, and they believe it, and then they hit the actual real world, and it is so different from the protective bubble that a lot of them have lived in. If they had the luxury to live in a protective bubble. Most women don't get a chance to live in a protective bubble. Most are just like very vulnerable and taken advantage of at a young age. But I can see why it is frustrating to work so hard at something and then you get this blockage in your way, in the way of your dreams. When I think of people blocking women from being and living their best version of themselves, keeping them from education and not letting them rise to the highest heights of their imagination, I feel it does a detriment to humanity. It's actually stopping the progress of humanity, because all of us had to come through a woman. Either we were pushed out, or we were cut out, or something of that nature. You see something like the Henrietta Lacks, even though they stole her cells, her cells provided so much opportunity for people to be healed of various things, to have all of these new discoveries come about, inventions that women have created, because they decided, like, I'm just going to go get an education myself. And so I just think that's interesting. And if I try to resist, it's you're to that or you're to this. I've seen that happen just working with children. I've seen how people will treat different children differently just based off of whether they're a boy or a girl. If it's a boy being rowdy or if it's a girl being rowdy, they're going to get two different responses. A lot of the time, the girls will have a lot of responsibilities placed on them at a very young age. It's not as if they get to experience childhood. If they have some type of confidence, sometimes it's viewed as being egotistical and stuck up instead of being charismatic and bold. Those words may try to dim my light, but mommy says that words passed down can build me up to new heights. Standing like a soaring tower, I am valued, I am loved, I have purpose, hope, and power. You see all the women in her lives. I didn't realize the value of having women in my life until I got older. I didn't realize that because I was still dealing with racism. I wasn't dealing with what I'm dealing with now. And sometimes when you're going through what this little girl is going through in the book, some women actually lose their mind. They literally go insane. They literally grow a heart of bitterness and just take a step back from life. That's why it's important to have confident, healthy women in your life. So this girl has her family. She has women that are doing different things. She has a safe haven. I didn't realize until I got older how important it is to have something like that. Because yes, this person might understand, but not all the way. At different stages in your life, you'll have a different understanding. That's why you'll see like older women mentoring younger girls, or older women sticking together, or younger girls sticking together. It's a sisterhood. And when there's a lack of sisterhood, there's an opportunity for a woman to lose her mind. Because there's nobody to talk to. There's nobody to relate to. You feel like you're being gaslighted. If this little girl in this book had not had these women in her life, she probably would have felt like she was insane. It's like somebody hitting you and they're like, I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. It's all your imagination. I'm not hitting you. I'm not hitting you. You're just lying. You're crazy. You're delusional. She said, ahead of me, sisters, aunties, mothers have opened so many doors. So it has the suffragists up here. And then it has Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm was very intelligent. She was a great orator. It says, Grandma says, you may be the first someday, but don't be the last. Make space for more. Okay, I think I know who this woman is. Is this the one? I don't remember her name, but now that I'm looking at this illustration, I think it's that one lady, but I'm not sure. No one can tell me who I am or who I'm meant to be. Auntie says what has always been is all they're able to see. I'll take my time and claim my place and show the world this is me. Persistent means I won't give up. Assertive means I won't back down. Confident means I believe in me. Proud means I cheer for us, the world around. And it says phenomenal woman on there, and it has a lady with her baby and another lady with her daughter, and she's just climbing up the stairs. And climbing up the stairs. Oh. Ambitious means all of that and more. I have goals, but I'm not keeping score. Ambitious girls, we get things done. If life's a race, we're ready to run. If we fall, we get back up, and if we fail, it's a chance to disrupt. Love all these different women. Because even though we live in a world where there's so many differences, sometimes when women put aside their differences globally, we will see we have some type of common thread, some type of common pattern, and we're all going through the same thing, but in a different dynamic of it, or a different version of it, but it's essentially the same thing. So when you uplift a woman, you're uplifting a nation, even though somebody will be like, no, that's not true. I really believe it is true. When you uplift a woman, you're uplifting a nation, because who is raising these children? Most of these children are raised by women. Essentially, the Black community, the only thing keeping it together is the women. I'm not trying to be too political, but I'm just saying a lot of people were raised by single mothers, depending on which part of the U.S. you were in. Because you have some parts of the U.S. you might have a high marriage rate, and then you have others where it's just just a bunch of single mothers. It depends on different classes. But when you empower a woman, you empower the world. The women are raising the children. They're growing the children. They're feeding the children, most of them. You have a couple of outliers that aren't doing that. But essentially, what do you have to be afraid of? Usually, most of the time, we work in the spirit of collaboration. And that's what I like about this book. You don't see any of these women in here trying to get in this girl's way. You don't see them being like, oh girl, you need to sit down. But there are some out there that are like that will stop you, that will throw a monkey wrench in your journey, that will take the air out of your tire and try to make you lose fuel for your goals. But when you do that, you're just hurting humanity. And when you do that, you're going to get some type of spiritual karma, because everybody here came with a purpose. And if any human being tries to stop that purpose, the universe is going to remove them in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't matter what you want, because you are getting in the way of somebody's soul journey. She says, I'll take up space. I'll shout if I please. I'll laugh and I'll play and I'll jump at the sun. I'll wear the words thrown at me, and I won't take no from anyone. Ambitious. I'm not afraid to make some noise. I am more than ready to use my voice. Because there's no to that or to this when it comes to being ambitious. I like this book. I really like it. It doesn't have to say a lot, but the illustrations compensate for what was not said. I mean, she didn't have to say much. It's not something, you don't need a lot of words to get your point across. Sometimes you can just feel what they mean. And I love how the illustrator and the author just worked with each other. They said enough, but they said volumes. So yeah. And the author has a note in the back, And she says, my mom, aunt, and grandma raised me to believe that ambition was a good thing. Ambition means owning and living your purpose. It means self-determination. It never occurred to me until I was much older that this could be anything but positive, something to be celebrated. I've worked hard to make sure my own daughters are raised with these same fundamental values that shaped my childhood. So when I heard people criticizing one of the women in our family for being too ambitious, it was amplified by the media. It stopped me in my tracks. Not because I hadn't heard something like that before, but because as a parent I felt a new sense of urgency to make sure that my young daughters and girls all over would have the tools and language to reframe, redefine, and reclaim what they will inevitably hear in the real world. In writing this book, my greatest hope is that girls dare to define their own unique purpose in the world and that they grow into strong, ambitious women. The end. So thank you all for sharing this book with me. I will be uploading another book review very soon in celebration of some other celebrations for January and for Martin Luther King Day as well. I will talk to you all later. Happy reading!